Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Payback. It's a movie starring Mel Gibson. So, how I came about to watch this movie is that I saw a description of a Mel Gibson movie, and I was like, that looks interesting, but I forgot the name of it, so when I thought I remembered the name of it, I looked it up, and I watched it, and it was called Get the Gringo. And it was not the movie I was expecting, and I was like, nope, not the movie I intended. But in the trivia for Get the Gringo, it basically there's a number of entries that made it sound like it was a spiritual or like unofficial successor or sequel to Payback. And I was like, well, I like to Get the Gringo. Spoiler for that. So let me see about Payback. And the Payback was made in I think like 1988 or something. Like it was a while ago. And I mean, it has a bit of the 80isms to it, which is fine, whatever. But the thing that I don't think jived quite well with me is that the premise of this movie, like the marketing campaign based on the like you're gonna root for the bad guy type of whatever the I think that was the slogan for it to try and get you to be like, oh yeah, look at this, look at Mel Gibson, he's such a bad guy, and you're gonna root for him. And so the first 15-ish minutes of this movie, you see him like pickpocket a guy and be a douche to a waitress and like steal this dude's identity to put a bunch of like to buy a bunch of things for himself and then he goes and he like beats this chick a little bit and you're just like, wow, this guy is a total prick. And then as you watch the movie, you're supposed to be like, oh, I get it now. Yep. Yeah, I want you to get. But the thing is, and I'm going to say kind of mild spoilers for it. You know what? Just spoilers for this. Is that his whole thing is that he had a business partner who they were stealing from like some gangsters or some syndicate or something. Like they were stealing from them so that his partner could try and get back in with whatever other syndicate, mob organization that I don't know how he got out of it, but he wanted back in, so he had to pay his way back in, and they were stealing to try and get that money, but it wasn't enough, so his partner betrayed him. And so this is years later, and he's coming back, and he's like, yeah, I just want my half of the score that we had, my half that you stole from me. And so he's going through hell and high water to take out his business partner, to take out this mafia guy and that mafia guy and this guy and the other thing, and like high-ranking people just for his 70 grand, which I think in today's money would be like 300-ish grand. I don't know. Something like that. But okay, so you're supposed to be like, oh, see, he has a code, he has principles, like that, he has a lot, like he doesn't want all of that, like even though he can take these guys for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars because they're mid to high level ranking boss people in the mafia or the syndicate or whatever. But he's not. He just wants his cut that was illegally, whatever, unjustly sent to them from his partner. But it doesn't make sense. Like, it's fine if they'd had that without the beginning part where he steals this dude's identity and puts a bunch of money on that credit card, and like that's douchey enough. But like, you could be like, okay, well, he's coming back and he doesn't have any money, and so he's just doing what he knows. You could have that, but there was absolutely no reason to stiff that waitress. Like, that is such a just asshole move. That is just so unnecessary. Like that guy, a guy who does that for clearly a waitress who it looked like she had been nice and kind and everything else to him and probably served good food and whatever else. Like, from the context that we have, it seems like she was a good waitress. And then he does that to her, and it's like, I'm not going to root for you because you suddenly, like halfway through, once you start getting success against these mobsters or whatever else, suddenly have your principle of like, no, just my half the money. Because you were doing that shit. Like, it's like they were like, okay, people aren't rooting for him enough, or like we need a marketing gimmick, so let's have this first 15 minutes of him just being an asshole. And it just didn't work for me. There was I think it's a bit too 80s for me to really get into. A lot of the classic 80s ones, they just don't ring with me now. Most of the ones that I'm thinking of are like the comedies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and like Animal House or whatever type of movies. Like a lot of the 80s-ness just don't ring with me. So maybe that's a me thing. But Payback was not the best Mel Gibson film. Like I like that he won for the most part with a lot of the things, and just that he wasn't letting people stay alive that were just going to come back to haunt him or whatever. So I do appreciate that aspect of it, but just there's so much of it that, like some of it was like, okay, so that a simple conversation, like, so part of what you find out, and this is, I think this is a bigger spoiler than some of the stuff that I've said, so spoiler alert for that. But so what you come to find out is you see the betrayal moment when his wife like shoots him in the back or shoots him or whatever to team up with his partner, and basically his partner's like, yeah, it sucks that you look like you were cheating on her, and throws down this picture of him like boozing it up in a somewhat compromising position with some random chick, right? And so you could see from the expression of his wife that like, oh, she's so sad because he cheated on her. But then you remember, because this is like a flashback sequence, then you remember back to the beginning of the film when he showed that picture to her, what you find out was his, like, at that time was like his wife, whatever, he finds her, and oh, you're like, oh, that was his wife, and oh, and when he said that this was from years before we got married, you're like, oh, okay, so his partner just showed her an old picture of him from before they got married, and she just took that as, yep, that must have happened yesterday, so now I'm going to shoot my husband in the back, or, whatever. Like, really? Like, was your marriage really that strong to begin with? If just one single picture is all that was necessary for her to be like, yep, I'm going to shoot him now. I'm going to be sad about it, so you have sympathy for me, but I'm going to shoot him now. As opposed to, I don't know, asking any questions whatsoever, like, hey, when was that picture taken? Maybe I should, communicate with my husband who is there. I don't know, there's some things that just seem really plot convenient. Like, I like that Mel Gibson had success against the various mobster levels, but from the various other mobster movies that I've seen, I really feel like the mid-level guys would have more protection, and it would probably be, once they know he's going around trying to kill these guys as they come in, they would get even more protection. So, like, for example, A History of Violence. Yeah, he had to go through an entire household of just a shit ton of dudes. Like, yes, he was successful, but yeah, he got in. Or, Mr. Right, a more comical example, but still, like, mobsters, I feel like when somebody comes for a mid-level person is like, yeah, send your next person, like, they're gonna roll heavier than two guys that are just gonna hold up suitcases. Like, I don't know, it stretched believability in the environment that they were in. And also, like, how dumb do those cops have to be? Where he like, hey, you want to hold on to my gun for me? And then, hey, can I have it back? And I'm going to awkwardly take it back in a newspaper, even though I handed it to you in broad daylight earlier. Now I need a newspaper to get it back so that your fingerprints are on it. Like, I don't know. It was too much dumb stuff for me to really take it seriously and to enjoy it. So I do not consider Get the Gringo a sequel to this movie because I liked Get the Gringo and I did not like this movie. So I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.